I grew up as a fourth generation Adventist. In the church, most people probably would have looked at me and thought I was one of the perfect Christians. I knew all the Bible answers. I knew it had talk about Jesus. But what most people didn't realize was actually inside I was quite lost. I didn't really have a real relationship with God. I could go into an evangelistic meeting and everybody would be enjoying the sermon. I would walk out midway just to listen to the radio because I was too bored with listening to the gospel. It was in my junior year of high school when my family is going through some difficulties and a crisis in the family that as I was deciding whether or not to go to UC Berkeley or not, I was looking at the colleges to go to, and in my heart, when I was considering whether or not to go to Berkeley, there was something in me that said that if you go to Berkeley, you're going to walk out of those church doors and never walk back in. And I made a decision. I want to give this a chance. I want to see if my faith is because of my parents or is it actually mine. And so I decided to go to Pacific Union College instead. And within the first couple of days I landed into PUC, I went and walked into the bookstore, bought a new Bible to start and read the Bible from cover to cover, starting with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I didn't know how to do devotions. I never heard of devotions before. I didn't know really how to pray to God. But as I started to read my Bible every day, God started to change something in me, and I noticed that God started to speak to me, that words would jump out and they seemed to apply to my daily life. And it was at the end of a whole year of just playing around and fooling around in college, and I didn't really pay attention in school, but I had to take a general class on the life and teachings of Jesus, and they force you to read the book of Desire of Ages. All throughout the quarter I never paid attention, and we're coming up to the end of the class and I have to do the final, but I read the chapter and it's towards the end of the book and it's called By the Sea Once More, where Jesus is talking with Peter and sharing about what Peter's future is going to be. And Jesus tells Peter, follow me. And there was something about when I was reading that chapter and reading that phrase, follow me, it resonated and almost felt like a voice, and it seemed so loud. I was sure it would wake up my roommate who was sleeping in the room. But when I looked and I saw that it was probably just in my head, I brushed it off, but it never let me go. Something in me told me that God was calling me to follow him into ministry. As the year went on and I kept thinking and seeing how God was speaking through other people, and providence had seemed to point that God was calling me to change my major from studying medicine to go into theology. I finally decided I have to do what I think God is calling me to do. And then I had to make the big choice to tell my family, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. That second year of finishing my schooling at PUC, I told my parents that I was going to change my major because I felt that God was calling me into ministry. Chaos broke loose into my home. I was riddled with questions day in and day out. I couldn't even pray in peace. I was challenged in every moment. And it was finally, I remember this one moment though. I was speaking to my mom and it was rising to a pitch, and she was looking in the eye and she was asking me, what are you going to do for your future? I said, I don't know. What are you going to do for money in the future? I said, I don't know. Are you going to end up in the mission field and I'm going to hear that you die in the mission field? And I said, I don't know. I don't have answers. The only thing I know is I have to do what God is calling me. And as I was speaking to her and I had no answers and I didn't know what the future looked like, all I remember is that there was this deep, full sense of peace that came in my heart, and an impression that I felt that God was saying, my child, I know you don't know, but I will take care of you. It was in that moment that I had never experienced God so real and tangible as a friend and concretely as that moment. And prior to that moment, I think I only had a superficial understanding of God, and I had known that He was there and at my side, but it was in that moment that I knew that He was going to be with me. He was going to walk side by side with me, and He was going to lead me. There's a verse that I'm reminded of in Isaiah 42:16. I will lead the blind by a way they know not. I will make darkness as light before them, and I will not leave nor forsake them. And that has been my experience with God. I don't know what the future is, but in following Him, I have found that is the greatest and most best advantage and security and sense of freedom and completion of your life that you can ever have, is to follow Him.